Today, I'm going to bring you guys the ultimate blitzing defensive scheme that is going to allow you to get insane pressure in at the quarterback. We're going to have numerous different blitzes coming in from all angles while mixing up the coverages that we give them on the back end. We're trying to force the quarterback to hold the ball for that extra half second, wondering where the blitz is coming from, or forcing the quarterback to read the coverage wrong and throwing bad interceptions. This is going to be my New York Giants 3-4 Big Blue Wrecking Crew defense. This is one of the original 3-4 defenses in the NFL and widely considered one of the greatest defenses of all time. There were three men that were the pillars of this team. The first is Bill Parcells. He was the head coach who believed in hard-nosed defensive football and running the ball. His background was as a defensive coordinator, but as he moved to the head coach role, he gave the reins of his defense to Bill Belichick. He was a young coach who is thought of as a defensive genius and who had an insane attention to detail and understanding of the game that is absolutely legendary. Together, they developed their 3-4 defense that was built around being incredibly physical up front, playing sound assignment football, but the number one key was getting after the QB, getting sacks, and creating turnovers. And this is where the third pillar of the defense came into play, Lawrence Taylor. Considered by many the greatest defensive player ever, he was the complete opposite of Belichick's calm, stoic demeanor. LT was a force of nature who was equal parts intimidation, aggressiveness, and straight up dominance. And he was even able to win a league MVP award in 1986, becoming only the second defensive player ever. Over a 7-year stretch from 1984 to 1990, the defense was able to finish top 5 in scoring defense 5 times, top 10 6 times, and were able to win 2 Super Bowls, one in 1986 and in 1990. With the 1990 Super Bowl being considered one of the greatest defensive game plans ever, designed by Bill Belichick, and they were able to lock down the Jim Kelly-led Bills K-Gun offense that was one of the most dynamic the NFL had ever seen, and they held them to 19 points and were able to secure the victory on a last-second missed kick by the Bills, capping off the Giants' legendary run with a second Super Bowl victory. We're going to be building this defense around a ton of the principles of this classic New York Giants defense, but we are going to be altering some things to make sure it's as effective as possible inside of Madden, and for this scheme, we are going to be using the New York Giants playbook. The first thing that this D is built around is we want to bring a ton of pressure, especially attacking the edges of the offensive line, but we always want these blitzes to look the same pre-snap. This will make it tougher to block up, but will also lead to confusion for the QB on the coverages we are running behind it. We're also going to be playing with a really big personnel in our 3-4 odd formation. This allows us access to all our blitz and coverage looks while we still have a ton of size to play the run and make sure we're not going to get light boxed when bringing heat. But when we do face someone who's playing more spread looks with speed on the field, that is when we can go to our nickel looks. They will also have a ton of ways to bring heat while also utilizing a bunch of creative match coverage looks on the back end. The end goal of this scheme is to get the ball, so I have all of my abilities set up around causing turnovers. Our two main outside pass rushers both have strip specialists, which will greatly increase their ability to force fumbles. Then all 4 of our linebackers are going to have lurker on them. This will ensure that when they drop out into coverage, they'll get better animations. Then all of our defensive backs will have mid-zone KO. It increases the rate at which you will knock the ball out when the quarterback tries to force it into tight windows to beat the blitz. Now, up to date on my website, Scheme Kings is the first 3 blitzes in this defensive scheme, all based out of our 3-4 sets. I will show you multiple ways of getting insane pressure while changing up our coverage shell on the back end. I'll also break down how these can work on current gen and how to make them fire in there. So if you want to unlock even more for this defense and take it to the next level, I will leave a link to Scheme Kings down in the description below. The first formation that we are basing our defense out of is this 3-4 odd. This will give us a big physical defensive front, perfect for when we play a team that wants to use a lot of tight ends and running backs, but it can still work when they come out in more spread looks with extra receivers. In this formation, we are going to be shifting the D-line and linebackers to put them down on the line of scrimmage. This is going to allow our blitzes to come in even when they block running backs, and it also helps disguise our coverages. The key players in these 3-4 sets are our 4 linebackers. Starting with our outside linebackers, I am using Dave Robinson and Carl Banks in these spots, and they are going to be our prime pass rushers. We want them as fast as possible to get to the quarterback on their free rushes. I have the ability strip specialist on both of them, so when they do get to the QB, they will go after the ball and they can get a ton of creative crazy fumble animations. They will also be dropping out into coverage when they aren't blitzing, so they need to have some zone coverage stats, and I put the ability lurker on both so they will be able to jump up and make athletic plays on the ball. Next we have our two inside linebackers, and here we have Luke Kuechly and Derek Johnson. You want size and athleticism at these spots. They are going to be our users when we are in 3-4, so they need to be fast, and we have lurker on both these players, once again, to make sure they can be athletic and go get the football. They also need to be able to fill and stop the run by blowing up blocks and knifing into the backfield to make plays in the run game. Next we have our D-line. At nose tackle, I have William the Fridge Perry. We want a big immovable object here who will man the middle of the defense, absorb double teams, and will make it really tough to run the ball up the middle. We're going to have inside stuff on this player. Then for our two DNs, these need to have more size and strength on the inside. We have Reggie White and Leroy Selman at the spot. These players will be 3-4 DNs, so speed won't be as important as being big enough to eat up blocks and keep our linebackers free to make plays. But they do need the speed to come in at the QB when they do get a free lane. The next formation in this defensive scheme is big nickel over G, and this will be our answer to more of the spread passing sets. But once again, we are bringing a ton of heat in this formation with multiple blitzes all looking the same pre-snap, but with different coverages on the back end. But as opposed to the 3-4, we are going to have way more speed on the field. We will be subbing out our two inside linebackers for two safeties. They will be Jimmy Graham and Isaiah Simmons. On most plays, one will be blitzing and we will be using the other one, so we want size and speed to cover as much ground as possible. Then we have acrobat on both these players so we can make those diving athletic interceptions and give us more range as a user. Next, looking at the secondary, and in this formation we are subbing in a nickel back, and I am using Deion Sanders. He is going to help patrol the middle of the field and play like another user, taking away quick hitters, or he will be firing off the edge as a blitzer, so we want as much speed as possible at this spot. And for our four players in the secondary, they will always stay on the field in our 3-4 and big nickel formations. At our two safety spots, we have Night Train Lane and Byron Jones. We want athletic coverage players who can play over the top in coverage and keep us secure on the back end. They both have mid-zone KO, and this ability is amazing at the catch point to get you knockouts and will fire all over the field. But these players also need to be able to come downhill, be physical in the run game, and make sure our defense is balanced. Next, we have our two outside corners, and we are going to have Akilo Witherspoon and Randy Moss. Here we want tall, rangy defenders who are able to make plays on the football and win jump balls if they go up against bigger players. Once again, we have mid-zone KO on these guys, and you will see it firing all over the field when they are in the flats, and they will get a ton of crucial knockouts for us. Now, having an incredible lockdown defense is only half the battle in Madden. So to balance it out, you need a great offense, and I have released a ton throughout the year. So if you want to take a look at my top 5 off-meta formations that will pair perfectly with this defense, you need to check out this video right here.